Oh, ladies, do we have some stuff to talk about today? If you have been listening to this podcast for any length of time, you might have noticed something. I was a little Captain Obvious. The name has changed. Yeah. And this isn't me getting bored and deciding I need a new podcast logo. This marks 7 years. Yeah, 7 years since I've been doing this podcast. And we're knocking on the door of almost 400 episodes. And I've talked to hundreds of guests. I've had so many conversations about menopause, food, workout, sleep, hormones, stress, bodies, blah, all the things. And I'm really excited about the conversations. I am just over the moon that one, I've been doing this consistently for 7 years. I have yet to miss a week without having an episode. And I'm not suddenly saying none of this stuff matters. It's that I'm still going to work out and I'm still going to care about eating healthy food that makes you feel good. I'm still going to talk about menopause and health and all of that. But somewhere along the way, I realized that for years, the conversations that I've been having with women is that it's less about the logistics and more about the how. How do I fit health and fitness into an already full, busy life? And I've become way more interested in that. Because if I think about the wins that my clients get, yeah, absolutely. Can my clients lose weight? 1,000%. However, my win is that when a client tells me, all right, Kim, I finally set a bedtime. A win for me is when a client finally says, you know what, Kim, I finally sat down for 5 minutes and I had that cup of coffee and I wasn't like, all up in my head. Like that's the conversations that really like light me up versus I lost 10 pounds. Because yeah, I absolutely. Can you lose 10 pounds? Yeah. But what I know, a lot of the hardwired stuff, like the managing your stress, the getting a good night's sleep, the feeling like crap because you didn't get a workout in, like that stuff, we need to work on that. And so this past year has been a bit of a turning point for me. Many of you know, if you follow me on social media or just follow me in general, know that I left Massachusetts after 30 years of living there and we moved to Florida. And we don't know a soul. We know zero people. And suddenly we're figuring out like, where do we go? What do we do? Who are our people? And, you know, and Philip's retired. And, he had been working home since COVID. And so it's not suddenly like he's home all the time. He's been home for 6 years. But he used to have a schedule and he used to like get up, have breakfast, somewhere between 8:30 and 10 o'clock. He'd be on calls. We'd have some lunch. And then he's off calls, 5 or 6. So when he retired, I will admit that a tiny part of me was like, what does this actually mean? And is he going to be standing in my office at like 10:17 being like, what's happening today? What are we doing? No, thankfully, he, in the short time that he has been retired, has figured out some things. And there's only been a handful of times he's like, you can't see it, but he sits in the chair and he's like, so, and I'm like, sir, go find an activity other than sitting there. But all of these changes have just really made me think differently because, the moment that I tell people like, oh, we're moving to Florida, pretty much everyone asks me the same damn question. What are you gonna do? And I'm like, the same thing I do here. Like when I was living in Cambridge, y'all could give a crap about what I was doing. Like no one was walking around being like, so what are you doing with your life today, Kim? I had a life. I had a routine. I knew where I was going. And hell, I knew what the grocery store was and like where everything was in the grocery store. I knew what it did. And now people are throwing at me like, oh, so you're gonna learn pickleball? You're gonna play mahjong? You're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do... I'm like, whoa. And I'm just standing there like, I don't know. Like I honestly, other than like, how do I get my crap packed? And to Florida was the only thing I ever really thought about it. I just thought about logistics. And I think most of us get caught in logistics of life as well. So I haven't thought like, what do I like to do? Not sure what I'm good at. Not sure what I should do. Not, and and it's more about like not being productive, right? It's like, yes, I know what I'm doing for my work. My work does not change. It just changes location, you know? But it's not like, what do I do? What do I like? And it's not exercise and it's not being productive. It's like, what do I actually enjoy? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized like this wasn't just about moving to Florida. This is just something that I've been hearing for years because so many of us spend a chunk of our adult lives on duty, right? On duty for our kids, husbands, partners, jobs, parents, houses, businesses, the dog, everybody, we are on duty, right? And being on duty isn't just doing the actual shit. It's the remembering of the shit. You're right. It's I've recently introduced Philip to this term emotional tax. And if you've never heard of it, emotional tax is just all the like list making that we do up here that no one, it's also called invisible tax, but it's the stuff that no one hears, like, right, where you know about so and so's doctor's appointments in a week and you're trying to triangulate like how that person is going to get there, or knowing that we're almost out of toilet paper, or knowing, when did you last have that chicken in the refrigerator and if no one eats it tonight we're going to toss it, or knowing that school starts on a certain day and time, and or a school teacher meeting, like all the like logistical stuff, or you booked a vacation, so you're the person who's like, okay, passports, you know, who's gonna watch the dog or the cat or whatever. And like, and somehow, like, I don't know how women, we've become the keeper of all of this information, right? We keep it compiled in our head. And then you pile on top of that, like, okay, Sharon, did you work out? What about your steps? Did you eat enough protein? Oh my God, what about your water? How many hours of sleep are you getting? Did you take your supplements? Like, blah, 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 right? So then it's like, no matter what, we always feel like somehow something is like in that giant Jenga of a brain of ours, something is getting to get pulled out, and it's just going to, like, the blocks are just going to spill all over the place. And I just remember, like, I think it was a few years ago, I got to the point that I was like, I no longer give a shit that oatmeal has 25 grams of carbs. I don't. And I don't want to know that. And the fact that like I have that information like bogged in my head, the fact that I can literally tell you what I ate last week and put it in a food log, I don't want that anymore. Right? That doesn't mean I don't care about health anymore. Absolutely not. Am I planning to screw it and like, no longer work out and pack on the pounds? Absolutely not. But I don't also want to diet myself within an inch of my life. I don't want to freak out because someone asked me to dinner. I don't want to feel like I failed because my hour workout only was 30 minutes or it was just mobility work, right? And I definitely don't want another woman feeling like shit because they couldn't get everything on their list done in that particular day, right? And this is kind of like one of the kind of my breaking points was I was working with a client a couple of years ago, and she was all about, can you diet me harder? Like I need that, these results have to happen in like 2.2 seconds. And y'all know, if you've been listening to me, I'm not that girl. If you want to lose 20 pounds in 2 minutes, good luck, find someone else. But we were working slowly, things were working, her habits were changing, but she just got caught in the like what so many of us have been taught, like go big or go home. And I was like, you know what? I, uncle, I don't want women feeling like this all the time. That feeling like if something is going slowly, there's a problem. I don't want women feeling like crap because, you know, they can't keep up with what they were able to do 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? Because we spent, I don't know how many years believing that we were supposed to put on a cape and leap a tall building in a single bound and do all the things and be a certain weight and have no belly fat and do all the things, and if we weren't able to do that, we felt bad about ourselves because we couldn't. And I'm done. So here's the thing: the off-duty life doesn't mean that we are just checking out. Well, I'm not telling you that we're gonna pack our bags, throw our phone into the ocean and we're going to move to Bali. Like, no, that's not what we're saying. Well, depending on the day, because some days that might be like, yeah, I'm going to go to, go to the, I remember when I was in corporate and I had a really shitty boss, I would always be like, yep, I'm just going to go and just sell, coconuts on the beach, like anything but here. Like, we're not doing that. But off duty, right? Because again, how do we break up with a go big or go home? Off duty can be something as simple as 5 minutes, right? 5 freaking minutes to drink your coffee without scrolling on your phone. Sitting on the couch, even though there's laundry still there, and just sit there, watching a sunset and being like, I should be doing something else with the time. No, you're just watching the sunset. You're just enjoying the serenity. That's the activity. Because off duty doesn't necessarily mean nothing, like you're not doing anything. That's important, right? Maybe off duty for you is a pickleball lesson. Maybe it is finally learning mahjong. Maybe it's going to a concert. Maybe it's trying that restaurant you've driven past 47 times, or someone's told you about and you keep meaning to, like, oh, we'll make the reservation, we'll make the reservation. Or maybe it's finally calling that woman that you said, I've been meaning to have lunch with for the last 6 months, but you haven't actually put anything on the calendar. You've just gone back and forth with the text, like, yeah, girl, we should get together. And sometimes off duty means doing absolutely nothing with no productive outcome. And so many of us, us ladies in our 40s, it's been like drilled into our head that if I'm sitting still, something's wrong. I'm lazy. Like, I need to be productive all the time. And with being off the off-duty life, it's like we're not trying to get better. We're not trying to burn more calories. We're not trying to make more money. We're not trying to help anybody else. We're just doing stuff we actually like. And even if it's sitting on your ass. And I'm guilty too. Like, I always say, when I was teaching, I would be like, all right, guys, what do you guys have going on for the weekend? And I'd always be like, sitting on your ass is a plan. And I still believe sitting on your ass is a plan because so many of us don't do that. And I was watching the news and there was a statistic that this guy was talking about how many people feel like overwhelmed when they go on vacation and they just sit, right? Or maybe that's the only time you give yourself permission to just sit is when you're on vacation. Well, I want to know, how many vacations are you going on? Are you going on a vacation every weekend? Right? If you're only going on vacation, say once a year, twice a year, we're missing out a lot on sitting on our ass time. And I want you to get more out of this life. So that's where this podcast is going. We're expanding the conversation. We're not, yes, I'm still going to talk about health. I'm still going to talk about menopause. I'm still going to talk about food and workouts and taking care of yourself. Absolutely. Because I'd like to carry mine well into my 90s. My grandmother lived to 103. So I'm hoping, at least I got 103. Maybe I can beat her. I don't know. But I'm also going to talk about relationships. Like, what is it like to be in a long-term marriage? What is it like to end one? What is it like to have sex in a long-term relationship? What is it like to have sex with someone new after you've had sex with the same person for X number of years, right? We're going to talk about friendships, adult kids, retirement, starting over, making friends when you're a grown-ass woman, getting older. Like, what do you like to do for fun without that, like, I don't know the answer. And yeah, how are we going to rest? Like, literally put our feet up and rest. And that, without having that weird moment. And suddenly we're going to figure out, like, what do we actually enjoy that we want to kind of do for the rest of our lives. And I put out a call for recently looking for different kinds of guests because I want to have those different kind of conversations. I want to skip the small talk and get right into the real poop, the stuff women are actually talking about when we're sitting around the table with people that we trust. Or maybe it's you don't have those people and just being like, okay, great. I'm not the only person thinking about this stuff. I'm not crazy. And I want feedback as I go into this new chapter, this new evolution of this podcast. I want the good, the bad, the indifferent. Feel free to reach out to me. But caveat, don't just say, hey, Kim, this sucks. Give me something to work with. I want constructive feedback. And, tell me what you want more of. Tell me what you think. Tell me that if you completely disagree with me and you think I'm cray cray, that's okay. That's the first time I've heard it and definitely won't be the last time I heard it. But tell me what you're dealing with that no one else seems to be talking with. I want to open up the show and have those conver have those conversations. And I don't want off-duty life to become another podcast that you listen to, you nod and you're like, oh, girl, yeah, you're so right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then go back to doing exactly what you've always done. I'm going to call at the end of every podcast, I'm going to do what I call the off duty experiment. It's not homework. There's no test. No one's going to check on you. You can't get an A. You can't get extra credit. It's just something to try. And it's going to be really, really simple. And recently, I challenged my clients to come up with like 3 to 5 things that they wanted to do by the end of the summer. And it didn't have to be health related. One person said that she wanted to go to a concert. My my one is I want to watch as many sunsets as possible. Mother Nature and it's been cloud blocking me a few days, but all I'm trying to do is, watch a sunset, the whole damn thing. Sometimes I only get afterglow, but I'll take it. So here's your first off-duty assignment. What are 3 things you want to do over the next 30 days and simply enjoy them? They don't need to improve you. They don't need to make you healthier. They don't need to make you wealthier. They don't need to be productive. No one else needs to benefit but you. So ask yourself, what sounds good? And if your immediate response is, I don't know, perfect. That's exactly why we're starting this conversation. So start there. And because, apparently changing a podcast after 7 years wasn't enough for me, I am doing something else. Yeah. Overachiever. I am also creating what I call the off-duty post club. And yep, I actually mean mail, like snail mail, an envelope, a stamp, something that is going to show up in your mailbox that is just for you, that ain't a bill or me trying to sell you solar panels. Because when I was thinking about all of this whole kind of ecosystem that I'm trying to build in the off-duty life, I kept coming back to this one thing. Like the last thing or most women that resonate with me need another fucking app, right? Or another notification or another thing blinking at us, like saying we're behind. And then I started to think, like, what if something showed up that didn't ask you to accomplish anything? And that's all I'm going to tell you for today because the next episode is going to be where I get in all the deets about the off duty post club. What's going to show up in your mailbox and why I'm starting the first round very small. But if you're like me and you're like, girl, I need to know, head over to the show notes. You can, if you need to know right now, I will put it in the show notes. Just go head over to the link. But before we clock out for today, I want you to think about the question today that I gave you. What are you looking forward to over the next 30 days? And not what you're going to finish, not what you're going to accomplish, not what your goals are, just something that you're looking forward to over the next 30 days. And if you don't have an answer, maybe that's the first thing you need to figure out. And because we're going to be spending years being off duty we're going to spend years on duty for everybody else. I think we're allowed to have a few things on our calendar that can freaking wait. They can absolutely wait for you to spend a little bit of time on yourselves. All right. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Hopefully this is going to last another 7+ years, another almost 400 episodes, and I will see you next week talking all about the Post Club.